Go. So fantastic. So let's go ahead and talk about what we've actually got today for today's stream. So we've got a really cool number of exciting announcements. So we've got the brand new ROG 20th anniversary update with the new ROG CROSSHAIR 2006 based motherboard. We're also going to be touching about the ROG NUC 16, so a brand new update, of course, following up, of course, from the 2025 based edition as well as the GR70. We've also got the update for the ROG R1 glasses, which is going to be a really cool update on that side. We've got a brand new cooler update with the Prime LC2 series, which is going to be following up from this generation. Is now actually going to be offering an LCD screen with even actually better performance. And we've got some really great promotions and deals that we're going to have going on for both actually a few LCDs as well as some OLEDs and some great actually networking solutions, especially for those that maybe have not jumped into Wi-Fi 7 as well. And we've also got the PCDIY Builder Spotlight. So we're going to be touching on an amazing build from our friends over at AK Mod, one of the absolute best builders in the game. I think I've got another build also stacked up from our friends over at PC Works. Absolutely fantastic custom water-cooled system that's going to be powered by some ProArt based hardware. But overall, some great stuff. Let's see who we have joining us here. We've got Kevin Daly, man, fantastic. Happy to have you joining us here on the stream, letting us know the audio is okay. Great, fantastic. We've got Iggy Castillo, man, great actually modder builder friend from the community reviewer. If you guys want to actually check out a great reviewer that does some core hardware stuff, you can definitely check out Iggy and This Bites For You on his content channel. Justin Chu joining us, man, fantastic to have you. Of course, one of the best builders out there in the game. Absolutely stunning stuff. We've got Paskowitz also joining us here. Oh, we've got my friend, the one, the only, the Canadian Grand Master himself, Sneff. Fantastic to have Sneff joining us from the stream as well. Robert CS joining us, Ryan Lowe, and a few other people. So, man, fantastic. Thank you for everybody joining us here on the stream. Let's go ready to jump into it, and let's show off some cool stuff, right? So let's see what we have going on. I think first, let's go ahead and not bury the lead, right? So of course we previously showed that we had a pretty exciting update. We said, hey, the 20th anniversary is coming. Of course, a big announcement, and even more stuff is going to be announced at Computex, of course, 2026. But we'd give you guys a little bit of a teaser, of course, of an upcoming next generation board design. And so now, really happy to be able to go ahead and show this off. So, yep. For those of you who guessed, you thought that it was going to be a motherboard. That's right, it is a motherboard. It is a homage board that really pays homage to the original, the very first ROG motherboard, the first product that we produced under the ROG banner. So really cool to be able to actually see us kind of take it full circle and be able to bring in the ID design. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. I think it absolutely looks stunning. We've got some actually images here from our friend over AK Mod that we're going to use, who actually took some really beautiful photos of this board. And let me know what you guys think. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's probably started to pop up there in the ether, as far as you know, on the web. But if you haven't seen it, you guys are going to get to see it here. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. Let me go ahead and adjust that a little bit. There we go. All right, so that is it right there. Right off the bat, it's just got that absolutely stunning look. We haven't seen really copper on motherboards in terms of an actual ID design for a really long time. I remember actually really working very closely with our team when we made a conscious decision. Original RG boards had this very kind of strong thematic, I think, focus in terms of having a more refined design element, especially compared to a lot of motherboards at that time. And for years, we had a focus originally here where you had, of course, that kind of that black, that white, and that blue, and then we transitioned into a kind of a shift that had red. And so red, white, and blue for a very long time was ROG, and then we kind of went to red and black, and then we went into our monochrome era where we really focused on offering, really in the industry, I think, the first kind of conscious effort to offer really streamlined monochromatic kind of color schemes on motherboards. And now we of course have this kind of two-tiered ecosystem where we have white and black ecosystem, and then we have more distinct stylized designs that we have, whether through the IP collaborations or specialized design concepts. But I think this is really cool to be able to kind of see the homage brought back in terms of the original over ID design that we had from the original Crosshair. It definitely has that early 2000s kind of vibe to it, right, from a board design, but you see that just that fitment, that finish, that refinement that we're now doing so well, and we've been doing now for years on the ROG motherboards, that I think it's a beautiful kind of combination of bringing that kind of let's say, older aesthetic, right? But then bringing that into kind of really the refined maturity that we've been able to accomplish really now over decades in terms of what we've been doing from the design perspective. So I think it absolutely looks stunning. Of course, you've got these, of course, ultra large, massive copper-based heat sinks on the board. You can see some really cool functional elements. If we take a little bit of a closer look right here, you of course have the current ROG logo, but then some of you might not be aware that this is the original actual ROG logo that we only had for a very small period of time. It was actually called the Gamer's Cube. And so for those of you that are really big diehard ROG fans, you might be aware that that was the actual original logo before we had the ROG I, and then we transitioned into the ROG I. So it's really cool to actually be able to see both of those logos present on the motherboard at the same time. You then got, of course, the 20th anniversary badge. You've got the current, of course, branding designation there for those who dare. And then, of course, all of the other functional elements. I even really love the blue, right, that we're using here, just kind of just setting off that kind of accent. It really helps to make the copper pop, along with, I think, the white, and it really looks just kind of beautiful together. Now there's more stuff that's going to be coming. Keep that in mind. Also, that sticker, that's probably there from an engineering sample production side, so don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure your model's not going to have a sticker on that side. In terms of the overall core features and functions, since this is using the actual Dark Hero foundation, pretty much all of the features that we've talked about on the Dark Hero are going to be here. So you get really great specifications, support everything from, 10G connectivity, 40 gigabits USB. You got the new quick AIO connector. You've got 3 internal USB 2 headers. You still have the classic stuff like outstanding, DRAM topology with the Nitro Path tech. You've got our differential dye-sense voltage monitoring for the best actually voltage monitoring in the industry. Of course, super performant VRM assembly, and so many other cool things. This one does have an updated, though, display design. So if you'll actually notice here, traditionally in the standard actually Dark Hero, the Dark Hero has an actually polymo lighting display. So for this generation, we actually revised that because here we go with, of course, that more kind of contiguous block that really kind of allows for a different kind of more stylized aesthetic presentation that's fixed as opposed to a screen. But then we move that to here where you actually have an OLED display. So this is kind of similar to what we did with some of the other boards in the prior generation. Take, for instance, like maybe the Formula or the Extreme models, which actually had that integrated kind of secondary subset display that was built onto the motherboard. So now that is actually going present. I think that absolutely looks fantastic in terms of the overall look and feel. So let's just quickly see here. I want to go through a couple of the more photos so you guys can actually check it out. But absolutely stunning, I think, in terms of the overall look and feel on this. I love that backplate in there, and it's all copper. You won't be able to see it because, of course, when you mount this in there, it's going to disappear. But I love that backplate. That backplate just looks absolutely stunning, I think, in the copper, and it just kind of really shows off the whole vibe and a whole other layer that I think looks really cool, really distinct, really stylized, right? Of course, for this generation, we moved to also even more kind of a toolless design mechanism. So the actual M.2 primary heatsink assembly, of course, is quick latch design. And so, of course, you have that on both the large, high-performing PCI Gen 5 M.2 SSD, and then even for the secondary. So the primary has, of course, a quick release design, and then the secondary also has a quick release design. And these are also going to be featuring multiple dual contact designs. So that means that the NAND for the top and the bottom of your M.2 SSD also gets actually the benefit from a heatsink assembly. On more kind of basic models, you generally only have top side level heatsink, where on this model you actually have both top side and underside. So both sides are actually helping to provide improved thermal dissipation. So that's going to be on this one. You can see a secondary here, a tertiary here, and a quad M.2 right there. So a lot of really cool design elements on there. So let's go ahead and take a look here at this cool little video. Actually, I want to blow up the video a little bit larger to go through that, but I want to quickly see some feedback from those of you out there. So we got cool, nice design. Okay, Iggy gives us an ooh. All right, I'll go ahead and take that. Oh, there we go, Snef. So Snef, being such a long time builder, I was really excited to be able to see what his thoughts or feedback might be. So he says, what a motherboard. I agree. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I think that the board looks beautiful in terms of the overall look and feel. Kevin, a long time, of course, ROG fan as well, as this. Guess who pre-order? It's a beautiful motherboard. It's such It's such a nice, typical motherboard color design. It's a piece of art. I agree. I think, you know, it just looks absolutely stunning. And the fact this is an anniversary-based board, I think for a lot of you that have wanted to have kind of a board like this, to be honest, there's like a whole like secondary market that people sometimes are chasing on like Facebook Marketplace or eBay, trying to sometimes get these older generational boards. It's really cool to kind of be able to have a new generation one that has this kind of design motif. I've actually even sometimes talked about to the team internally that it would be cool to sometimes have like what I call like mock sample production boards. So these don't actually have to be like fully functional, but I think that some people really appreciate sometimes the stylized ID designs of these products. And so I said, you know, sometimes maybe we just make like a non-functional based board, but at a significantly lower price. So if you maybe you want to be able to throw this up on a shelf, or you want to be able to have like a cool like wall art deco kind of piece, right? I think that that could be pretty cool for certain types of pieces of hardware. I know sometimes some people that waterblock the graphics cards, they actually take the shrouds and they re-put them back in together, and they kind of try to present the GPU in kind of that fashion, right? But if we were to produce that, that's actually a lot cheaper than, of course, having to put active GPU and memory and all of those other things in there. If you just kind of want to be able to present the overall aesthetic, right, and be able to show kind of, let's say, a demonstration model, but not necessarily a functional model, right? But overall, I think very, very cool. Yes, no pre-order in Canada as of right now, but of course, make sure, stay tuned. More information is going to be coming out in the not too distant future, right? So Robert goes, wow, I do like the colors, but the only thing that I wish was the Crosshair label could be adjusted. I have, yeah, so you have that inverted type of design. That's the reality with any type of inverted design, is that you're always going to be a little bit in that kind of tough situation where sometimes the layout doesn't necessarily ideally fit that kind of scenario, and that's just the nature of the beast. But I totally hear you there, and it's valid feedback, so I thank you for that, right? So let's go Shane here. The copper is great in my custom built cabinet with back plane fans that will make this work even better. Will you bring this into the Pro Art? I don't think right now we would be making any change. I think this is just a conscious kind of throwback kind of homage in terms of the overall design. I think it's important to note that right now when we take a look at heatsink assemblies, you know, for years when we started to kind of transition, I would say, into kind of more distinct and stylized heatsinks, we still never necessarily did that with a focus to say we wanted to diminish actually thermal performance. The balance was actually how do we make sure that we can offer both. So actually I give a lot of value to our team, because our team still, every generation has to go through extensive actually QT validation, where we do actually thermal cycle testing. Our overclocking performance team does that, and there's a lot of other pieces that go along into that to actually go through very extensive actually testing in combination not only with the VRM and the power topology design, but the actual thermal design, to ensure that we have a product that's going to meet a very high level of performance. And we see that that's evident. Nobody right now is saying that the heat sinks aren't actually able to provide you a ultra high level of performance, but at the same time they offer a really distinct and I think more cohesive design aesthetic, right? I think the question though, as always, is that sometimes we like to see things that are sometimes different and distinct. So it's cool to kind of bring back this design, which was, I would say, a more kind of just traditional design, which was about just pin fin density, right? You know, and it looked cool, but at the same time, it didn't necessarily allow us to have a more stylized aesthetic, right? And that's what we've evolved towards, right? So I think the great thing is that now you can have the best of both worlds, right? And we've been able to accomplish that, but I definitely think this design looks fantastic, right? So I'll answer this question before I kind of go into the video really quick. Can you please give me a recommendation between a 3070 and a 4060? Well, 3070 is not really actively on the market anymore, right? So, you know, when we talk about actually GPUs, in terms of the overall rough availability, you know, you should really be looking at kind of the modern GPU assortment, I think, in that regard. But if you were to probably take a look at the both, they're both going to be, I think, you know, good performing based parts relative to what you're talking about in terms of kind of 1440p, right? But the bigger question that you really have to talk about isn't just saying 1440p, it's going to be actually accounting for the game that you're playing, because the performance requirements for games can vary considerably. So like Forza Horizon 6 just came out, one of my favorite series in terms of the titles. The performance experience for that title is going to be very, very different than, let's say, if I'm playing Cyberpunk or in the Blind Forest or playing Fortnite. So what I tell a lot of people is, look, when you're considering the GPU, take a look at probably like 5 to 8 games that you're going to probably be playing the most of, right? Now, if you're like me, I like to play a lot of different types of games, and I don't necessarily focus on one game, but sometimes some other people, they're like, I play this game all the time, right? Maybe in more ranked ladder kind of matches and things along those lines. And that matters because sometimes one GPU might be more favorable than another when it comes to kind of either a specific kind of game scenario or maybe more kind of broadly as a whole. But if we kind of just give it as a relative average, right, you know, excuse me, the other part too that you want to account for is actually going to be the refresh rate. So you say 1440p, but you want to also account for like what's the refresh rate you're going to be targeting, right? Are you taking a look at like you want to be targeting like 180 hertz, 120 hertz, right? Or at 1080p at maybe at an even higher refresh rate. You kind of have to evaluate that. You know, on average, when you probably take a look at the relative performance, right? You know, take for instance like a 4060 in Forza, I think right now would probably be around like 65 to 70 frames a second. Now keep in mind that's also going to be with a higher end CPU, so sometimes depending on your CPU that might mean that you're going to be bringing the performance envelope down a little bit as well, right? But that's quite strong. It just kind of depends, you know, I think what's your relative performance marker going to be, right, that you kind of have to evaluate. So just kind of keep that in mind. I would probably say I would favor, you know, I think for a lot of people, they would probably say they favor the 3070, but since you can't really actively buy one, my recommendation would probably be the current generation GPU, because that's what you can actively really buy from that perspective, right? And, you know, even if we kind of use the current generation benchmark as far as what is possible from a GPU side, that's going to be, you know, if we use like a 5060 as a relative kind of benchmark at 1080p, you know, 3070 is probably going to be 90 to like probably about 100 frames. If we do an average relative to kind of overall performance for a broad number of kind of games, you know, 5060s, not too far off from that. It's probably within about 5 frames of it. So, you know, again, that's where like I go. The 5060 is pretty strong, and you get some other kind of newer features there, but better actually power efficiency, better media encoder, right? You're going to get support for some other kind of features within that respect, right? So that's, again, kind of just giving you a little rough barometer. 1440p, you know, let me check. I think I had some legacy notes here. Let me see if I still have my legacy notes in here. It might have changed a little bit from the last time I had it updated, because it's going to have varied depending on some driver updating. Yeah, so what? 5060 on average is probably going to be at 1440p, somewhere around like 60 to 65. 3070 and even like 5060 Ti, that's going to put you around like the 70 to like 75 FPS, right? So there's even an argument that, again, maybe the 5070 Ti might be a better choice for you in that regard. Plus, you also have AMD based options there too as well. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this video, guys. I spent a little bit of time longer than I wanted to on that question, but hopefully that answers that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this really cool case mod. Absolutely fantastic. Wow, that's such a great looking build. Can I go back? I mean, just look at that. That's just an insane kind of cool build. I would rock that. I mean, if my desk was big enough to kind of be able to put that on a slat angle. I really love the secondary display. Of course, you know, you kind of can see that this is more of a showcase piece, because from a functional standpoint, that's going to take up a huge amount of space, where normally you would kind of have a more streamlined kind of slim course chassis, and then adjacent to that you would have your monitor, your keyboard, and your mouse. But if you could kind of have enough space to just kind of put that there, and then you would also run your secondary monitor, or your primary monitor, your larger monitor, your 27-inch or whatever, your 32-inch, your ultra wide, whatever it might be, and then your keyboard and mouse. But that's such an awesome build. Again, we can see right here, that's the Strix series power supply. This is probably one of our XG series portable displays. You of course got that Crosshair 2006 edition based motherboard. I'm pretty sure this is the Ryogen WB, the water block that's on there as well. And then of course all that custom work that he does to be able to go ahead and contain that all within this kind of almost diorama type design layout. Absolutely kind of stunning build. Of course, hats off to AK right there. I agree. Yeah, the floppy disk looks absolutely cool. That's a really cool way to kind of go and kind of start off the kind of the look and feel for the system. Iggy goes ahead and says, "Wow, definitely very cool." Any small form factor PCs anytime soon? Yeah, so we actually talked about last week, I think, the ROG NUC, but I'm going to be talking about the newest update that we're going to have within our mini PC ecosystem, the ROG NUC 16. So if you're interested on that side, I will be touching on that. We did also, of course, recently launch on the kind of the let's say, discrete GPU mini gaming PC sides, although they definitely are starting to have some pretty high-end GPUs to offer some solid kind of mainstream gaming performance. As you got the NUC 16 Pro, which just recently launched, which is, of course, using Panther Lake, which is a really impressive integrated actually iGPU core that's actually based into there. And then we also have the new PN54 and the PN55. The PN55 is pretty much just a softer update from the PN54, a little bit higher clock speeds, but the RDNA graphics core that's actually within there is actually pretty performant. So if you're kind of more in that kind of mainstream kind of gaming kind of focus, right, esports based titles, or maybe some older titles, or you're also leveraging things like FSR, then those are really, really solid options. Of course, if you really want kind of true higher end PC gaming level performance of what you can have with a discrete GPU, then you want to take a look at products like the ROG NUC 2025, the GR70, or of course this new upcoming NUC 16, which I'll be talking about in a little bit, right? The ROG Helios expected, it should be hopefully by I'd say the end of this month going into the beginning of next week. End of this month going into the first week of of June should be the availability. I think the MSRP is confirmed right now at $69.99 for the Helios. So for those of you wondering, that is actually our new 20 gigabits SSD based enclosure. So if you're looking for a great high speed SSD enclosure, we right now have two options. We have the TUF Gaming A2, which I have actually right here. I can show images if you guys want to. This one I've been using all the time. I absolutely love this model right here. So big fan of the TUF Gaming base unit. The Helios is just a little bit more stylized, really cool, really nice look, feel to it. And then of course we're going to be coming out with, probably before the end of the quarter, the ProArt based model, and the ProArt based model will be a 40 gigabits based enclosure. So we now actually have pretty much like three different levels. We have the ASUS Cobble, which is 10 gigabits, the original ROG Arion, which is 10 gigabits, then the TUF Gaming original A1, which is also 10 gigabits. Then we go to the TUF Gaming A2, which is 20 gigabits, the Helios, which is also 20 gigabits, and then you lastly have the ProArt, which is going to be 40 gigabits. Okay. Christopher, hey man, fantastic to have you here. Thanks for joining us here on the stream, man. So let's go ahead and take a look here and keep moving that along. So I do want to go ahead and quickly bring up the product page for you guys just on the ROG Crosshair 2006 base model. If you guys are actually interested in pre-ordering it right now, it is actively available for pre-order. So let me go ahead and just bring this up right here. I'm going to also drop this one into the chat for you guys. There we go. And we'll go ahead and take a look right here. So that's that product page. Again, you can see the board looks absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm not going to recap all of the features and functions because pretty much this is the base Dark Hero based motherboard. So you get all of those great features that we have with, of course, the Dark Hero. I think some of the real call-outs that I think are important, though, is, as I noted, one, you have that new quick AIO connector, right? You've got, of course, dual PCI Express Gen 5 slots, which are fantastic if you wanted to be able to run double GPUs for, of course, more professional workflows, if you want to use this for kind of gaming as well as kind of maybe more advanced workflows, whether it's going to be editing or maybe kind of LLM or kind of other types of development-based purposes. You have 5 slots that are going to be on the motherboard, including 3 of those, which are PCI Express Gen 5. Of course, quick release for the graphics card, right, with that nice push button based mechanism. You're going to also have easy, of course, toolless access for the actual removal of the heat sinks for both the primary and for the secondary M.2 SSDs. So just press a button, pops off the heat sink, and then from there use the quick latch design to immediately slot in your M.2 SSDs. So really fast, really simple. Nice to go on that side. You can see some nice kind of throwback items too, with actually the physical buttons like we had in the prior generation for things like the power and the reset, different items like that. The 3 USB 2 headers, but you still, of course, have modern generation based specifications because this is, again, leveraging the Dark Hero based design. So that 20 gigabits header, which also supports 60 watt power delivery, is going to be built on board onto this unit. When we take a look, of course, at the display, you can see right there that 2-inch OLED display, which is going to be really cool with, of course, customized, specialized anniversary animations that we have built in there. You can see, of course, you have the default animation, 20th anniversary animation, hardware monitor for frequency, temperatures, voltages, things like that. You can check the status updates for things like your UEFI BIOS, and of course, you can have also other customized elements. When we take a look at the I/O, a lot of really great overclocking features, specialized DRAM technology features, a lot of what we talked about here. But let me go ahead and move this over. Let's take a look here at the I/O stack. So actually, we'll just go over here into the gallery. And you can see, of course, right there. So you've got your USB BIOS flashback, your clear CMOS, USB 10 gigabit, 10 gigabit, 10 gigabit, HDMI, 40 gig, 40 gig. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Type-C ports on there. Then 10 gigs. These are going to be, of course, all Type-A, which is great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are 10G. That's going to be a legacy-based port. Then you also, the first time the Hero generation is offered 10G for this gen, for the Dark Hero and for the Crosshair 2006. Of course, Wi-Fi 7, and of course, optical output and your gold-plated audio jack. So I think, again, a fantastic, and love the box. We even went retro on the box. The box is literally like the original Crosshair-based box with, of course, the ROG Gamers Cube on there right there. So there you go, guys. If you guys want to be able to check it out, the pre-order is live there for you. You guys can go ahead and check it. All right. So let me go ahead and quickly see if we have anything. Hey, Erica. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us here on the stream, right? Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a screen. Yeah, and that's actually an update compared to the standard Dark Hero, because again, the standard Dark Hero has a polymo lighting display on there, as opposed to a screen. Normally, we reserve the screens for usually the Formula or for the Extreme model. So this is actually kind of like, I'd say, like an upgrade in that regard, that this model actually has a screen where it wasn't present. And we got Phoenix joining us, man. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us on the stream right there, right? I wish the HDMI was a DP port. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting. I wonder why you feedback. I mean, to be honest, the majority of people, I think, just they don't default to using onboard display output configurations, and HDMI is definitely the more universal option. And the reality is, there's no reason to need the DP there, because if you really wanted to some reason wire into DP, just use an HDMI to DP cable, right? Like you can literally get an HDMI to DP cable. I think that's the easiest route. So when I see people like that ask for one port or another, unless you need specifically for some reason that port, you can always just adapt the port, right? So again, an HDMI to DP cable will get you covered in that regard. But you know, the vast majority of people are, of course, using the output from the graphics card, not from the motherboard. And I think in that regard, the HDMI just being the more universal type of cable standard, it does make more sense to go that route, right? All right, so let's go ahead and let's move things along to the next item. What do we want to go to next? I guess let's go with the ROG glasses. Yeah, let's go with the ROG glasses. All right. So we're gonna go with the next one right here, and so these guys, of course, were originally announced at CES, right? And we now the launch is not yet here. We're going to be looking at the 22nd for this month in terms of actually when you can expect, hopefully, the channel availability to hit. But we have gone ahead and already listed the actual pre-order live with our friends over at Best Buy. So I will be dropping that link into the chat. So this is going to be our first kind of gaming focused AR based glasses that we're going to be releasing to the market, of course, in collaboration with XREAL. It's the world's first 240 hertz enabled refresh rate on this type of product. And I think the other really cool element here is also going to be the ROG control dock. That's really where a lot of the special sauce actually happens, I think, in coordination with this type of products. So traditionally, one of the main limitations you had with these type of glasses, they were awesome in terms of kind of being able to give you this bigger, larger, more immersive display, but they generally didn't have the ability to interface directly with a discrete level GPU. So most of these units generally had like a direct kind of wired in chip that generally only processed information from the direct GPU source on that product. So that could be like the phone, it could be like a thin and light laptop that was leveraging an integrated iGPU, or some other types of products, but generally not a discrete based GPU. So what we did there is we developed this new control dock, and the control dock is really cool because it gives you essentially HDMI and DP connectivity and the ability to actually quickly switch between those different input sources. So let's say I want to be able to have everything from, let's say, my console to it's also my desktop computer, or if I want to have a laptop or different devices, I can wire in those different devices, all of a sudden start to take benefit of that higher performance that I have. Because of course, you know, at the resolution and at 240 frames a second, you definitely going to need a beefy system to be able to be hitting those higher level refresh rates. But that's where it's really cool to now be able to bridge in this level of performance for, I think, PC gamers, whether they've got high performing laptops, whether they've got high performing desktops, or they want to be in that kind of middle space with things like the ROG Ally, which is great to be able to bridge in a product like that and to be able to have this really open and immersive kind kind of experience with high resolution, high fidelity, high level of brightness, and really good color accuracy as well. So this is going to be a really exciting update that I think we are going to be offering in terms of actually our product ecosystem. I love a lot of the also functionality that we've done right here, where especially if you're going to be tying this in with a product like the ROG Ally, we're going to have the integrated console command functionality built in there that makes it really easy to be able to go ahead and make adjustments dynamically to the actual glasses through that software UI, which I think just helps to kind of make that experience that much more seamless. So I think it's a really, really cool update that we have in terms of not only the hardware, but also shows kind of that tight synergy that we're able to accomplish, really unique within the industry, because we have so many different products that we're now integrating, and we can cross leverage the hardware and the software design ecosystems to be able to kind of bring these more unified kind of experiences that really you don't get from other companies, because they don't offer this breadth of depth, or they haven't invested the kind of the resources to be able to offer that type of flexibility. I also love the flexibility in terms of not only tuning the performance levels, the screen size and the brightness, but also I really love the aspect ratio adjustment that depending on the game title you're going to be doing. If I want to quickly adjust, as you can see right here, I can go from 4:3 to 16:9 to 21:9 to 32:9, giving me that nice kind of quick toggle flexibility, right? You'll see, of course, here's the RG control dock with the different actually inputs. So HDMI, DP, you've got pass-through support in there as well. You can quickly see how you can toggle through. You also have an anchor mode. The anchor mode, I think, is actually a really, really cool function. The anchor mode is important because with most of these units, you generally have some type of tracking, and if you keep moving, that can actually break the experience, especially from a more desktop gaming experience, because you're generally, even though your eyes are moving, you're keeping a kind of fixed field of view. So that anchor mode helps to kind of keep you anchored in place to be able to ensure that you can kind of engage within the screen in the same way that you would do with a more traditional type of display, if that makes sense, right? Because the tracking would make more sense for kind of like a more type of VR type of environment, but not necessarily kind of the fixed plane environments that you have when you're generally talking about kind of desktop level gaming, if that makes sense, right? So overall, very, very cool product that we've got updated right here. Some really impressive kind of features and functions. And so we'll dive into probably this a bit more in a more dedicated live stream, I think, for covering a bit more into there. One thing I do want to touch onto this for some of you who are going to be evaluating, keep in mind that it's going to be really important right here to actually check your IPD information. So for the vast majority of you, you're probably going to be an IPD 63. This actually has to do with the space between your pupils. It's important that you actually make sure to pick the right IPD marker. So we actually have two different models. There's an IP63 and there's an IP69. For the vast majority of you, you're probably going to fall under an IPD63. If you were to, let's say though, incorrectly get an IP69, everything will still work, but the main issue that you'll run into is because since you haven't accounted for that correct spacing, you can actually have a little bit more fuzziness or blurriness in the image, which of course wouldn't be ideal if you really want to maximize the overall image quality experience. It still is actually quite usable, I would say, so I wouldn't say that it's a deal breaker, but fundamentally, if you want the best experience possible, you actually really want to make sure to check the IPD values and make sure you match the IPD value to the right unit and get the unit that's going to give you that best clarity, right? So again, probably for the vast majority of you, IP63 is going to be a focus. We do also have an IP69 variant, which is going to be for a smaller segment of the population. And there is also prescription support. So if you happen to be that, then you can, of course, see here that you do have prescription support available to you. So I will drop the link in the chat for the ROG X1s. And we'll go from there as well. So go ahead and drop that in there. Let's see. Iggy says, I saw those. They look amazing. Those mean a ton to me too. I have double vision. This really helps see one of everything. Oh, yeah. Fantastic, man. So very cool. I think, yeah, of course, he was able to see those at actually CES. So we had a lot of media that kind of were able to come in and be able to check those out in actually our showcase. And you'll be seeing actually more reviews and different things online that'll be highlighting the experience. But I'll tell you, from somebody like myself, that I've been kind of waiting to really see, I think, a matured, refined version of these that have really offered, I think, a gaming grade focus. I find it really exciting because it is pretty awesome to be able to have such this kind of large immersive display, and it just really opens up kind of a whole nother world of immersion and detailing. I found also that really high level of that refresh rate just I think reduces the eye fatigue and really helps to improve the motion clarity experience, especially for I think more fast-paced space games that you might have, and really align I think with the higher kind of performing modern desktop systems that we have as PC gamers. So a pretty cool update that we've got in terms of the ROG ecosystem, and just also shows you, I think, within the 20th anniversary, all the cool things that we're going to be offering, right? So next up, let's go ahead and take a look at our next generation cooler update. So this is going to be the Prime LC series. These guys are going to probably be coming in, I think, right now I would probably estimate Q3 time frame, so probably early Q3 time frame. So we're probably going to be looking at around July to maybe early August. Now, we recently kind of had a shift between the Prime series to the Max series. Max series will still continue for a period of time, but these are a kind of more complete comprehensive upgrade to the current Prime LC series. So let's go ahead and take a look at these guys. Let's see kind of where the updates come into play. I think these will be a really exciting update. Again, just bringing us a more price aggressive price point to be able to get a really nice quality display. I love right now the price point that we have for the new TUF Gaming LC3 series, which also has a screen and a non-screen based variant. Right now, if I go ahead and actually bring those up, let me go ahead and here, it's the TUF Gaming LC3. And these guys are already actually available right now. We have both the white and the black base version. I love the actual ID design on this unit. You can see it's got a really nice 2.8-inch space display. Has an integrated actually design for the actual fan frame right there, so that makes the mounting process super simple and easy, because it's just like this Prime series, you don't actually have to attach the fans in there. But you can see right now the MSRP for this base model right here, even with the LCD, 165 now for 155 for 360-degree AIO. With this level of performance, a 6-year warranty, I think is a fantastic option. But very, very excited to be able to see what we're going to be doing here with the Prime LC series for those of you who are going to be looking maybe for an upgrade. So we will have two models. There will be an LC version, and then there will be a standard version. So the LC version, this is the first time that we're offering the LC version at such like aggressive price point. We normally have only offered the LCs in like our higher end ROG series products. So LCs are going to have a shorter tube length. It's going to be 250 millimeters versus the standard 400 millimeters. So 400 millimeters is going to work better for kind of normal style builds. But if you've got kind of maybe more compact builds, or you really want to try to go for a more minimal kind of a look and feel, then you can see right here how much shorter that tube is at that 250 millimeters. So it gives you really that kind of really refined minimal look to when you have your AIO mounted. Now, when we talk about this, even though this is going to be a Prime Series product, the spec here is really, really nice, actually, in terms of the specification performance. So this is going to be a 700 and 720 resolution screen, and it's IPS, and it's 60 hertz. So that means it's going to be really smooth. It's nice and sharp. It's bright. I really love it, and I love this kind of little bit more a vertical type of oriented type of a design. Just looks, I think, a little bit more complementary to kind of how it sits within the CPU socket space. Now, three key upgrades that we've made compared to, let's say, the prior generation Prime Series unit. This will be slightly quieter, about, I think, measured approximately about 1 dB quieter. The prior unit was already very quiet, so there's no reason to kind of improve upon it, but it is actually quieter. Pump performance actually is further improved. It's about 300 RPM higher in terms of the overall relative pump performance, and also even the operational thermal dissipation performance has been improved a little bit as well. I think approximately about a C in terms of a reduction in terms of the temperature performance. So all the way around, it's an actually upgrade in terms of not only the screen, more flexibility in terms of the two options, standard model and the LC version, but also you're going to be getting, like I said, a quieter unit, better pump performance, that 6-year warranty, and even overall better thermal dissipation performance. We will have it in white and we will have it in black. Of course, this one does have that fully integrated fan frame, which I think looks really refined, really clean, really minimal. An update compared to the prior generation. Actually, if you look at this model that I have right here, you'll notice that there's no lighting. This looks really nice and clean and stylized, but the new model you can actually see right here is an integrated RGB strip, which I think looks pretty cool. Gives you just a little bit of flair at the top of kind of where you mount off to be able to show off a little bit more, which is going to be pretty slick. So yeah, those are going to be the main items right there. The fans also have been upgraded on this model. I think I have a couple other images. Let me see if I can bring them up for you here, guys. Fans have been upgraded on this model generation as well, so they're a little actually higher performing. So they are going to be, I think it's about approximately 100. Yeah, I think it's a 100 RPM update for this model, if I remember correctly. But let me go ahead and check here. I think I have some other images for you guys. Let me double check here. 300, yeah, 300 RPM for the pump speed, 1 dB lower noise, and then an improvement actually in the temperature. Talked about the actual size there of the display, 60 hertz support. This, of course, will use all of the standard new InfoHub display software, which we've been using on all of the current models right here. Yeah, and the fan speed, as I noted, is actually upgraded at 2600 RPM versus the prior generation, which was 2500. And the actual CFM static pressure, I actually think that's slightly removed, but it's relatively comparable. But the actual airflow noticeably actually got moved up even a bit more compared to the prior generation. So overall, I think a really great update. And let me go ahead and bring up, I think some of the images I think I have for this one. Do I have them here? Yeah. What do you guys think? You want to see the white one or you want to see the black one? I think let's go with the white one, I guess. But we do have it in black, so don't worry if you guys wanted to see it in black. But we always get questions on people. It's like, well, you have a white version, so I'll just show you guys the white version. So you can see right here, there it's going to be a little close-up of the display. That's that fan frame, like I said, that's fully integrated right there. Really nice, I think, nice clean design, and I really like that little RGB accent strip that we have right there. You can see how it would kind of sit there at the top compared to this model, right, where you don't have that integrated lighting strip design. I really like this nice compact clean head that we have there for the mounting configuration right there. Really nice clean and simple bracket design as well. And you also see you got just a little bit of accent lighting right there to give you just a little bit of spillover on the side profile, which I think looks pretty slick. Radiator dimensions are going to be the same from generation to generation. Okay, so no change on that side. So that is going to be the new Strix, the Prime LC2 update that we're going to have. So kind of moving into the next quarter, you'll see the TUF Gaming LC3 series, right? So we're going to keep the TUF Gaming LC3 series because those just launched. Again, we got that in white and black. We have the screen version and the non-screen version. No changes to the Ryu 4 as well. Ryu Gen 3 Extreme, I think, will also be maintained. And then we have the upcoming Strix LC4, which will be the first coolers on the market, which will feature the quick AIO connector based design. We'll still be maintaining the Max series for a period of time. And then we've also got the Prime series, and then now these Prime LC series too. Okay. Let me see right here. That looks cool, but just like PC like that, had top gaming system I won't be able to get anytime soon. I use an ROG Maximus Hero 7 with the 7700K and a 3050, man. That's cool. That's still actually a pretty solid build, right? I mean, even from the core count that you have there, plus if you've got it overclocked a little bit, that gives you a little bit more performance headroom. That's still a very actually solid daily driver for kind of just general computing performance. And for a lot of games, you still definitely have a solid kind of level of performance right there. So, you know, it's not like it's necessarily that you're kind of hurting, but definitely, you know, with that little bit of the architecture in a weird way, that system is actually being held up a little bit more by kind of the CPU and the platform than it is necessarily the GPU. The 3050 is still a pretty solid card in terms of kind of its overall relative kind of performance, right? All right, so let's go ahead and go into our next product. All right, so we talked about, the ROG CROSSHAIR 2006. We then had the Prime LC series and the GR1X1. So I think let's go ahead and go into the ROG NUC. So yeah, this guy is going to be pretty cool. I've got a little bit of a preview video right here. So let's go ahead and show this off to you guys. So let me go ahead and bring up the little preview video. sensor will automatically kick in all the corresponding maximize kind of the airflow characteristics and the operating parameters for whether you're vertical or whether you're horizontal. Now, the big update that you're going to have really for this model is actually going to be outside of the white and the black. There's also been a change to the actual power adapter. It's a higher performing power adapter. It's actually even more compact, 380 watt based solution. But the really cool part, I would actually say, is going to be the CPU. So the prior generation 2025 ROG NUC was using the Intel 275HX based CPU. This one now actually moves up to the brand new 290HX based CPU. So this one's actually going to be noticeably offer higher single threaded boost performance, better performance overall for PL1 and PL2, and for sustained boost behavior. So overall, because what we do really with the ROG NUC series and these compact ROG minigame PCs is we really look to maximize the sustained performance where we don't generally want to have kind of restricted power envelopes. That's actually a challenge that a lot of times you run into the laptop side, where you can use certain parts, but they might have actually multiple kind of power level limits, and they might actually consciously bring down that power level limit because they have to be operating at a certain power envelope to be able to consider things like battery or operating noise or the thermal design that might be restricted within that laptop. Because here we can actually still maintain a super small form factor. This is 3 liters, so it's super small. We can actually maximize really the thermal performance and the operating acoustics, but give you still the maximum level of performance. So this unit actually will even be faster than the prior generation, the 275, by actually a little bit of reasonable uptick, and then it will still be supporting the same paired GPU configuration up to that 5080 based GPU. So that is going to be the ROG NUC 16. We'll talk about it a little bit later, I think once we actually get closer to the actual formalized launch, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a teaser there in terms of it coming up. Let me go ahead and just kind of quickly scroll through the product page so you guys can see a little bit more about that. And if you guys have more questions, of course, always you can drop that in there. Hey, Iggy, thanks right there. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's when we play back the videos, I tried to bring that down a little bit, but appreciate you actually letting me know that. It's always a little bit hard in terms of kind of accounting for how much audio output. Sometimes on the videos, I try to mute them as well, but I appreciate you kind of letting me know that. So let's go ahead and quickly just take a look here at the product page. Again, this is going to be the same overall ID design that we pretty much kind of have right now on the GR70 and on the NUC 16. So again, those are both going to be 3-liter ultra compact base systems. They are using a discrete mobile based GPUs from NVIDIA. Again, here we have up to the 5080 that will be utilized, and of course the flagship version here will be that 290HX Plus, right? So this is really going to offer that highest level of performance there, 290HX Plus. With that 5080 GPU, the new higher performing actually power adapter as well. It's also more compact. The new dual stand design. I think the white model though will be available a little bit later than the black model. So if you're going to be wanting the white model, just keep in mind that it won't be probably available at the same time as the black model. It'll be coming a little bit later. I would estimate maybe late Q3 to maybe even early Q4 timeframe, with the black model being available a little bit earlier. But most of the other design elements are going to be pretty similar in terms that, for quick access. Very easy to be able to go ahead and access the internals on this. It's got a toolless based design. You can pop up the side panel. You can be able to access the internal PCI NVMe storage, where there's Gen 5 and there's Gen 4 support. This supports actually CSO SODIMMs, which actually are overclocked DDR5 based memory modules. Now it already come actually installed with 6400 CSO based SODIMMs, so very high performing base DIMMs. But of course, if you wanted to be able to have higher memory density support over time, you'll have that flexibility, right? So overall, that is going to be the ROG NUC 16. All right, cool update on that side. All right, let me go ahead and let's see next item here that we want to go into. So we did the Crosshair, we did the ROG XREAL R1s, the Prime LC Series 2, and the NUC 16s. So I think next we're going to do the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, but let's just quickly go ahead and touch on one last item that I've got right here, which is going to be a new display. So this is actually going to be a new display that we're going to be offering. This is going to be on, I'd say, the more entry side of the fence. For those of you that are going to be looking maybe for like a price aggressive 4K gaming monitor that also has some kind of esports chops in terms of giving you kind of FHD high refresh rate gaming performance. So this guy is going to be coming in at $299. This will be the TUF Gaming as you can see right there, 27UQEL5A. And what is the key specs for this guy? Well, you can see right here, this will be a 27-inch 4K based monitor at 80 Hertz, so a little bit higher than standard refresh rate, just a little bit better for that motion clarity experience. But it does have that dual operating mode at FHD at 310 Hertz, which is going to be quite fast. Fast IPS display. It does have actually our backlight strobing technology with ELMB, which is going to be great, especially if you want to be able to get improved motion clarity, but maybe you can't drive some higher refresh rates. ELMB is quite useful, especially like at 120 Hertz, where you can then get effectively a higher level of motion clarity at the expense of a little bit of a kind of input lag that you get right there, but overall still a very nice bump up. And in addition to that, you can still see right here that from an overall kind of punchiness on the panel, 120% sRGB is quite nice. It's quite punchy in terms of the colors that you would be actually allowed to have on the display. And when we take a look at some of the other kind of spec on here that I really like on this guy, let's scroll down here just a little bit. You're going to have, of course, DP, and you're going to have HDMI. HDMI, you get 2 inputs on there, so a total of 3 inputs and a 3.5mm jack. And I love that you do have tilt, swivel, pivot, and height. So this is full 4-way ergonomic adjustment support on this monitor. And so I think at this price point, this is going to be a great addition that we're going to have at that more aggressive price band. Now, if you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit even higher performing for both the 4K and for the FHD segment, we did talk about it previously, but I'll go ahead and highlight these guys really quick right here. Let me bring this up, is that we do have the, where is it going to be right here? Here we go. Yeah, so this is going to be the new XG UCG Gen 2 base model. So this model right here is going to be kind of the ROG version that we're going to have. So this is a more premium based offering. But if you really want a higher refresh rate for both the 4K and for the FHD, this could be a great option. And this one will be coming at the same price as the current UCG. So looking at $499, I believe, for this model. That might change though. Keep in mind it actually might come in lower, but you'll see 27 inches, and this will offer at 162 Hertz for that 4K. But then you get 485 Hertz for the FHD, and because we're still only talking 27-inch display, that HD looks really quite nice at the 27 inches. So I think the pixel density is quite good in that regard. You get the extreme low motion blur with actually sync support, so that means you can actually run the backlight strobing with actually VRR engaged. You also get USB-C connectivity, which you don't get on the TUF Gaming monitors, so that's going to support both display out as well as actually a little bit of power delivery, so that's going to be great for things like peripherals. You also have that more compact premium metal base design that we have here with still 4-way ergonomic adjustment, and this is also going to be what we would define as a wide gamut display. So we move up here to even a higher level for sRGB, so instead of 120%, 130%, but this also is going to give you 95% DCI-P3, so very punchy, bold, dynamic, great monitor. Love also that brightness performance. 400 nits is notably brighter than your standard SGR that you're going to get on most standard LCDs, so this is definitely a bold, bright, punchy display. Fantastic experience, really sharp and pixel dense with that high refresh rate, but then you also get that ultra fast refresh rate at the 1080p side. I think this is going to be a great addition right there. And if you guys even kind of want to go even a kind of step up, you could go with the XJ27JCG, which is already launched, and this is kind of like our flagship LCD mode, which I also want to touch on this one because we have it on promo right now. It's $100 off, so normally $850 and right now $750, but this guy is going to give you 27 inches at 5K, so super pixel dense. This is an ultra sharp image. It's 218 ppi, one of the absolute best ppi in the entirety of the industry right now. This is an ultra unique SKU in that I love the kind of the versatility here. 5K at 180 Hertz, which is kind of insane, and then you also have a 1440p at 330 Hertz on the same monitor. This also has our brand new super advanced ELMB2 technology, which is the best motion clarity enhancement tech that I've seen us actually ever put on a display. It's actually, I'd say, pretty awesome in terms of goes head to head with the overall kind of visual fidelity that you kind of see with something even like our pulsar based displays that are developed by our friends over at NVIDIA that we have a launch monitor with, where we have the ROG pulsar based monitor. But there's a similar kind of implementation here where we have an adaptive dynamic kind of backlight strobing implementation with different zone implementations there. And there's also notably less of a performance hit in terms of your brightness luminance when you engage actually ELMB2 as compared to ELMB1. So I really love the performance here. This also gives you even a brighter standard SDR image, as well as even a wider level of color gamut performance. So yeah, if you kind of want to step up, we showed you kind of a good option there with the TUF Gaming, a better option with that ROG monitor, the UCG Gen 2, and then we also now have the JCG, which is even a higher end base version here. Yeah, odd 162 hertz. Yeah, it was just literally a little minor upgrade that we had compared. So the original XG UCG Gen 1 was actually 4K 160 hertz, and the team was just like, hey, let's just try to squeeze it a little bit more. So they made it 162 hertz. So it does seem very, very small, but it is still, that's the spec. It's 162 hertz versus actually 116, right? Yeah. And yeah, that 5K at 180 hertz is pretty awesome, right? So all models say Intel graphics. Yeah. So actually, it's important. If you take a look at the page, you'll actually see. But this is true for both the ROG NUC, they're even the original model that we had, and then so they was using the 4070 or the newer ones, which are using the 50 series GPUs. So you have both, because keep in mind that the Intel graphics architecture is built into the CPU core. So there's actually two graphics cores that you have, and it's actually even important to understand this a little bit because the rear of the unit has up to 5 display outs, and not all of those display outs are matrixed through the GPU. There are actually some that are actually matrixed out through the iGPU. So by default, you're generally going to be leveraging the discrete GPU, right? So that 5080 GPU, which that unit has built into it. So it has a true discrete mobile 5080 part that's built into that product, but it also has the Intel integrated graphics core that is part of that CPU. Okay, so you actually have both elements that are there. Okay. All right. So yeah, we talked about those displays. So let's continue on with, I think, some of those promos, and then we'll wrap things out with the PCDIY Web Builder Spotlight. So we already started touching on some of the promotions that we had active there with that JCG model. So let's go ahead and bang these through. And again, if anybody has any questions or comments on anything that I've touched on, feel free to go ahead and let me know. But we're going to go ahead and run through some of these promos that we've got. So first one right here is going to be, I think this is going to be a great promo. This is going to be our new, I would say, kind of almost like lowest priced OLED offering that we're going to be offering. This is going to be the XG27AQDMG Gen 2. So this is a follow-up to the original 1440p OLED monitor that we released on the market years ago, 240 hertz, which I think is a fantastic base specification. So when this monitor originally released, it was over $800. We made a couple of different price drops to it with different iterations over the last really kind of 2 years, I would say more than 2 years. And now this new model comes in with an MSRP that you can see at $650. So that's almost our lowest priced. Actually, I think that we do have a QD OLED version that comes at an official MSRP of $599. But I would say that probably with aggressive channel promotions that you'll see for this model will probably maintain a lower overall price band. So this is going to be one to definitely watch, where, you know, watch out for the promotions, because we'll be running them consistently, and you'll probably be able to see more often than not, be able to see a monitor that for this model that isn't necessarily always at that $650 price point, that you might be seeing at a little bit of a lower price. But the official MSRP, I think, is still a fantastic price. This is also the lowest priced option that we have that features our exclusive what we call true our true black gloss coating. So traditionally on a standard monitor, right, in this class, you would usually have an AR matte coating. I love actually the AR matte coatings. They handle reflections really well. I think they still look fantastic. But for some people that really want that super level kind of a punch and clarity, the true gloss black the true black gloss is really impressive in that, one, it's a zero haze, so it's ultra clear. It's also really kind of glossy, so it really allows for a high level of kind of punchiness in image, especially if you want to shift not only from SDR gaming but really to HDR gaming, where this monitor would really also shine. For those of you that might not be playing in HDR, that's really one of the key benefits of an OLED display, is not just having SDR, which SDR, the brightness actually is going to be lower on this monitor than it would be for some of the other LCDs that we've talked about. But when we go into the, of course, the HDR experience, it's a whole nother ball game. Contrast is going to be significantly better here. The pixel response is going to be better here. The overall motion clarity is going to be better here. So a lot of big benefits, as of course we know right here. But you can see an example between like the prior glossy to then the true black glossy, to then even how that compares to some of the QD OLED solutions. And with the QD OLED, It is still a very clear image. It's what's referred to as a semi-gloss as opposed to a full gloss. But the main negative, I would say, for some people when they're considering it, and we do have QD OLED solutions, and they can actually offer outstanding visual fidelity, great color volume, and great color saturation performance. But they have this characteristic that's called ambient light handling, where when light hits it, if you don't have as much of a controlled environment, you get a little bit of a purple tinge effect, which is kind of what you see right here, where the black kind of goes from being black to not really being black. Now, when you have on-screen imagery, you won't notice this, but if you have areas when you're using the monitor more from like a monitor, and you have these areas that are kind of more black, you might notice this. So this could be something that you want to keep in mind. And again, this is the benefit of what we would have with the true black gloss. Independent of that, when we take a look at the rest of the specs, this is a very, very bright panel because it has the MLA Plus technology in right here. Excuse me, not the MLA Plus, but it's a very bright base panel in terms of the overall brightness performance. It has our new updated Neo proximity sensor that's in there, factory calibrated, adjustable HDR that you're going to have on this, unclamped sRGB mode, our 3-year warranty coverage in there. So I think this is going to be a great option. Again, $550 right now, so $100 off for this option. So let me go ahead and drop this one in the chat for those of you that might be interested in this. Is there an OLED monitor 4K with more than 240 hertz? Nope, there is not. And it would be hard pressed, I would tell you, is there really a point? Because show me the GPU that can even do 4K at 240 hertz right now. Really only with a select number of game titles. You would probably be talking about more casual games, esports centered games that you would kind of probably be doing that. And in that regard, you know, there could be an interesting argument for 4K because sometimes the field sharpness might be maybe really a benefit, maybe if you're talking about like foreground to background detailing, but most people are probably going to be playing competitively more at a lower resolution with a higher refresh rate than playing 4K at 240, right? But no, 4K 240 is pretty much the max right now. All right. I don't have a pricing for the NUC 16 Pro, so that is to be determined. So you're just gonna have to make sure to keep it tuned. We'll announce that probably closer when we get to the channel availability release for that NUC 16 model. Let me go ahead and go into our next monitor. So let me go ahead and I see there's questions popping in there. So if there's questions, feel free to go ahead and let me know. So let's go into our next one. We talked about the JCG, which is also on sale. So this is going to be another one which is on promo right now. So if you guys have been wanting to jump into an ultra wide, we got this 34-inch, the XG34 WCDMTG. This one's a really cool update that we released right around at the end of 2025. It kind of fell a little bit under the radar, but this is a really cool display because it actually integrates Google TV built into the monitor. So it's Google TV with Android 14. It also has full certification for NVIDIA GeForce Now that's also built in with Wi-Fi. So that means you can actually do direct gaming directly on the monitor, leveraging kind of cloud gaming services through GeForce Now, if that's something you want to do, while still also having a fantastic high quality ultra wide display. The cool part of also having the Google TV integration is that we've optimized the overall performance for the speakers to be notably much better than the standard speakers you get on displays. So most of the time, basic monitors, most monitors have basic speakers. So they might be like 1.5 watt to 2 watts. They're fine for, you know, maybe some podcast playback, web playback, YouTube, things like that. Maybe a little bit of kind of casual music listening, but definitely they're not going to be a replacement, I'd say, for like a nicer set of speakers or for headphones. But here we actually have some quite nice speakers that are built in, 2 independent 5-watt speakers with actually independent amplification. They allow for some nice punchy volume, really work well to be able to complement that if I want to be able to leverage, you know, my Netflix, my YouTube, my Disney Plus, my, you know, Prime Video, whatever the content is I'm going to be watching through the integrated actually streaming services that I can run now directly on the unit, or again, also from a gaming perspective, it's pretty cool. So this unit normally comes in at $1,200. It's actually $200 off right now, so $1,000 even. This is going to be using the prior generation QD OLED panel. So the latest gen QD OLED panel that is available right now is on the new XG34, the WCDMS, or the PG34 WCDN. That's going to be the ones that also have the higher refresh rate, so 280 hertz or 360 hertz. They also have the Black Shield film technology. They have even a higher brightness level for both SDR and for HDR. But this is still a fantastic option. You can see I love the curvature on here, just minimal 1800 curvature. Outstanding color gamut performance right there. So 99% DCI-P3, 240 hertz refresh rate. Of course, low pixel response because it's an OLED. It has the Neo proximity sensor, Google TV built in, adjustable HDR, 3-year warranty. picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture support, which is built in. USB-C with 90-watt power delivery that's also built into this unit. Of course, that Google TV integration. The Google TV is pretty cool too, because you can actually have multiple profiles set up for different individuals. So if you want to have one account kind of set up for one person and another account for another person, that is actually entirely possible right there. You can also have actually the kind of integration functionality with some more Google-centric functions that are actually built in there as well, which is actually going to be pretty cool on that side. And you still, of course, have all of our on-screen display management software suite, so Display Widget Center, and this is true for all of our current ROG monitors, is that's a piece of software that you can use to be able to control the OSD dynamically. So if you want to be able to adjust the brightness, set up a key binding, you want to be able to set color profiles for different applications, you want to be able to switch between different color profiles, you can do that all with actually the on-screen display software suite. Here we can also see that multi-screen display support that I talked about, right, that's built into the unit. And yeah, you're going to be good to go. Connectivity wise, you can see right there, HDMI, HDMI, DP, that USB-C with power delivery and display support, and the USB hub. The USB hub functionality does support KVM support. So if you want to be able to connect like a laptop and a desktop, but have your keyboard and your mouse connected to the monitor and have that actually work with both devices without having to switch anything, you can also take advantage of that as well. And then lastly, you have height, swivel, and tilt adjustment. So I think this is a great update that we've got here to our ultra wide lineup. I'll go ahead and drop this one in the chat. And again, this one right now, $200 off on that side. Hey JJ, thanks for answering my question last week about the potential of rotating the water block on the ROG Strix LC4. Any updates? I put more details on the comment last week. I'm not sure that I saw that, so I'll have to kind of keep that in tune. If you can share those details with me, if not, I would have to go. I don't know where you posted that. If it was in the comment last week's stream, if that's the question, I'll see if maybe I can check that after I do the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, if I've got enough time in today's stream. Okay. JJ, are there any updated BTF-based motherboards? So yeah, I mean, the last BTF updates were pretty new. I mean, the last update that we had just was at the end of 2025. So keep in mind, it actually takes quite a bit of time to design and develop a motherboard. On average, a high-end motherboard takes us sometimes between 6 to over 8 months in terms of design and development work. So these aren't things that you can just kind of bang out pretty quickly. More basic level boards that are generally more basic on the PCB and the topology and the overall design can definitely have a shorter design period, so sometimes maybe 4 months, you know, around that range. But definitely, I think on the ROG side, you're generally looking at least about 6+ months in terms of work, and definitely for the more specialized boards, it can even be a bit longer than that. But as of right now, there's no plans to have any additional BTF-based models released right now. We already have a great assortment for BTF, where we have, of course, the X870 Hero BTF model, and then we also have the TUF Gaming B850 BTF model. So that gives you a nice premium black base BTF option, and then we also have that really nice bold and bright white offering with the TUF Gaming. So I think we've got two fantastic options right there that have been recently introduced to the market. So no other updates in that regard. Matrix owners need an updated motherboard. Well, I would argue if you've got a Matrix, then the X870 Hero is the perfect board to pair with the Matrix. It looks absolutely perfect in that regard, right? So let's go and continue through with our promos. Let's see, we did the VG, the JCG, the dual mode, the AQDMG, the XG34. Oh yeah, okay. So here, XG32 UCWG. So this is actually another great option right here. So normally $1,000. This one's $200 right now off. So $800. This is going to be for a WOLED, so WOLED, but also has that true gloss, that true black gloss coating on there. So that's outstanding for that clarity and for that punchiness, right? And you're going to have that 4K, 165 hertz, but you also have that 330 hertz FHD operating kind of toggle. Keep in mind, this monitor does also support aspect ratio control, so if you want to be able to improve maybe the look and feel there, you can drop down to a smaller field of view like a 27-inch and be able to kind of tailor around kind of refresh rate settings aligned with that smaller aspect ratio. So that's a great feature that pretty much you always have available on ASUS monitors, is you have what's called aspect ratio control if you want to be able to tune to go to a different size on the monitor and essentially kind of turn it into a secondary or tertiary mode mode of operation, if that makes sense. Most of the other kind of features that I've already talked about for OLED displays are going to be on this model as well, so I won't recap all of those. You can still get the Neo proximity sensor, the adjustable HDR, the auto KVM, 3-year warranty, aspect ratio, uniform brightness limiter, all that great stuff built in here. So again, I'm going to drop this one in the chat for you guys if you guys want to be able to see this one. Okay, and next one here, we got another promo for another OLED based monitor. So this one is going to be also $200 off. Now, we recently launched the PG32 UCDM Gen 3, so that's our latest update to this monitor. That one actually brings quite a bit, where it has the Black Shield film, it has newer EL panel material, so it has actually even better luminance performance, HDR True Black 500 certification, a new recessed port design, and an integrated AC adapter, anti-flicker technology. There's a lot of updates. I've already covered that. If you guys want to find out about it, watch the prior live stream where I talked about that model. But this is still an award-winning, fantastic update that we add. And the big update for a lot of people here was the inclusion, of course, of the DP 2.1A and the Neo proximity sensor, which is really what you got within the UCDMR. And then you got all of the great features of the original PG 32 UCDM. So that's that 4K 240 Hz QD OLED based monitor, Dolby Vision support, auto KVM support, aspect ratio support. I love the aspect ratio support on this monitor. A lot of people sleep on it, but I loved running this monitor before I upgraded the current one that I'm running right now, and running actually a 27-inch 1440p 240 hertz aspect ratio mode on this monitor, which I loved. Now, you can't run the VRR and the aspect ratio controlled support, but I was using that with a frame rate limiter, and man, I loved having that dual toggle experience where I could run that nice super sharp pixel density image for my desktop productivity, for more open world gameplay experiences. But then if I really wanted something that was a little bit more targeted at kind of sustaining high level refresh rate for a more competitive standpoint, could aspect ratio drop down to that 1440p 240 hertz. And I'll tell you for a fact, a lot of competitors don't put the same care into the aspect ratio firmware tuning that we do. Some competitors actually lock out the aspect ratio control to limit what you can do in terms of actually the frame rate adjustment parameters. So don't think that just because you see a competitor that has the same aspect ratio control, they're going to have the same options. It's very similar that we are the best in the industry when it comes to things like 6-color access controls or adjustable HDR or unclamped sRGB, where just other companies aren't putting that effort to put these options and expose them into the firmware experience. So I think this is a great option right here in terms of the price point. You know, like I said, you can save a couple $100 compared to the new Gen 3 model, right? So that is going to be, yeah, the UCDMR. Got a couple of ones left here. The XG27AQ DPG. So this one is a little bit less than, I think it's about an $80 price savings. So normally MSRP of $850, now $770. This is really going to be for those of you that want an outstanding panel when it comes to ultra high refresh rate and super motion clarity. So this is going to be a 27-inch QD OLED 500 hertz refresh rate. So one of the absolute fastest. Literally, there's only one other monitor that's faster, and we also are the only ones that are making it. That is going to be the PG27AQWP-W, which is our 540 hertz tandem based monitor. So yeah, it's either going to be this 1440p 500 hertz or going to be the 1440p 540 hertz, right? But this is an absolutely brilliant display. It's quite a bit lower priced also than that PG27AQWP-PW, right? That monitor, it comes in at, you know, $1099. So this one is going to be noticeably quite a few $100 cheaper than that monitor, and effectively almost giving you that same you know, level of motion clarity performance, and you still get the outstanding, of course, color saturation and the color gamut performance that you get, of course, with a QD OLED monitor. So yeah, if you guys want to be able to go up to this, I would drop that one in there as well. I saw some monitors that say 3 gen, 4 gen is 4th gen. Yeah, so it can get kind of tricky. I know this gets kind of hard. So for us right now, we own the only ones that actually say gen in their name are generally going to be like the Gen 3. We don't have any other monitors that have like Gen 2 or Gen 1 in their name, except for some of the dual mode LCDs, which we've now established as kind of Gen 2, if that makes sense. Where it can be confusing is that you will sometimes see information in the panel. So the panel itself can be of a certain generation. So an example is if I scroll down right here, Let's go here. You can actually see this, like it says 3rd gen QD OLED technology. And that's because there's been multiple levels of QD OLED, right? So an example of this monitor is 3rd generation QD OLED has a better subpixel structure, so it's better sharpness in terms of actually the text rendering. It has also better luminance performance. It also has anti-flicker technologies that say like Gen 1 doesn't have. Gen 1 has also a lot lower luminance performance. I would actually say some people even returned original Gen 1 based QD OLED monitors because they just weren't bright enough for them when it came to SDR experience, especially when comparing them to their LCDs. So it can be kind of tricky because you might see a generation note from the monitor manufacturer itself, but then there can also be a gen note that denotes a specific generation panel that you're looking at. So it can be a little bit confusing. The best I would say is try to look at that information if that's something that you're trying to clarify, as far as, you know, that generational difference between the core kind of panel technology that is used. Okay. Go ahead and see if there was any other questions right there. Do you have any time frame for the ProArt? Yeah, the ProArt 5090, I believe right now we have an estimate that probably is going to be the very end of this month going into next month, and probably in terms of the availability. I don't believe I have an updated MSRP pricing. We'll note that when we actually have the disclosed, what we call channel release, and we'll cover that on the PCDIY hard stream, this stream. But I think as of right now, we're probably projecting, I think, the very end of this month going into next month time frame. Let me go ahead and see any other questions there. Okay, no other quick questions. So my last monitor that I got for you guys, this one is actually that UCG, that Gen 1. So Iggy, when you were talking about like, hey, that 4K 162, this was actually the Gen 1 version, which is still a great option. You can see right now that original MSRP $599. So that new Gen 2 version that will be coming in is actually going to be at this new kind of price reduced price is $499. But we're clearing this one out. So this one right here is also going to be a little bit larger. So you can see right here, this is a 32 inch versus that 27 inch. So do you want kind of that 32 inch, just a little bit bigger size versus the 27 inch? So we do have an XG27 UCG and there's an XG32 UCG. So they're pretty much almost the same in terms of that core spec, 4K 160, and then the FHD toggle at 320 hertz. So you can still see this is a fantastic option, I think, for a lot of people. Big, bold, bright monitor. You got the 4-way ergonomic adjustment. You got the slot down there for a phone. You got the threaded mount, so you can easily attach a light or a microphone or a camera to the top of the actual mount base. You can actually see that little threaded mount right there. You know, when we take a look again at the core kind of specifications, 95% DCI-P3. This is a higher percentage sRGB coverage, higher than standard brightness on this monitor as well. You have the ELMB sync technology on here, our shadow boost technology, nice rich I/O, so DP, HDMI, USB-C with the DP support, and 15 watts of power delivery on there, and the 4-way ergonomic adjustment, plus a lot of the other great stuff that we do in terms of our ROG Strix displays, which, if you're not aware, one of the key differences between ROG monitors and TUF Gaming monitors is all the ROG monitors come with factory calibration, so they're even better for the overall out-of-box picture experience. All right, so that wraps up pretty much the sales and promotions on all of our LCDs. Just gonna lastly quickly touch on a couple of quick routers, and then let's wrap things up with our PCDIY Builder Spotlight. So here, I just want to bang through these pretty quickly. First one is going to be the TUF Gaming BE6500. I think this is going to be a fantastic option that we're going to be offering right here. So this unit is going to give you Wi-Fi 7, but the big thing I think right here that is going to be really impressive about this unit is the more entry-level Wi-Fi 7 units that we have are generally going to be a little bit slower than this. This one gives you really solid 2.4 gigahertz performance, and then up to 5.7. So it's a dual band based unit, and that's going to be important to understand because we're going to move up in some of the spec. But the chipset on here is still very high performing. So sometimes on the more entry models, you see a reduced chipset, maybe like a tri-core chipset. This is 1.5 gigahertz quad core, has 1 gigabyte of dedicated RAM, and then it also has quad 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports on here. So great if you want to be able to connect to high-speed NAS, or you want to be able to have like a secondary connection to like a desktop-enabled motherboard that also has 2.5 gigabit networking, which is very common on the motherboard side. This unit also does have dedicated gaming ports, The gaming port is great for just easy plug-free kind of optimization. Just plug in your desktop laptop or your motherboard or your gaming console into that port. You don't have to do anything. It automatically prioritizes that for the lowest latency experience. You can of course be able to add ASUS AI mesh to this if you want to be able to add another router to be able to give you more coverage. No paywalls like a lot of other companies that are out there. 3-year warranty support, and again, I think this is a great price. $90 off right now. This is normally going to be $260, $170. And if you're wondering about coverage, for most basic routers, you're generally going to be looking at about 24 to about 2,600 square feet in terms of the overall coverage. For a lot of people, that's going to cover you really, really well. So I think a great model to take a look at. Now, let's say you want to go to something that's going to be a little bit higher performing. Let's go into this guy. This is going to be probably my overall recommendation for a lot of people if you want to upgrade. It's just a little bit more money. This one is normally $240, $50 off right now, so sub 200 bucks. This is going to be $190, but the big benefit here is this gives you full tri-band. So that means you get 2.4, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. 6 gigahertz is going to be pretty much on all your latest generation devices, your newest motherboards, your newest gaming handhelds, your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your PlayStation 5 Pro, your motherboard. All of these things all have now Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, so they're going to leverage 6 gigahertz. If you want to be able to have the lowest latency, the best performance, the best speeds, you want to match them up with that 6 gigahertz enabled band. For most people, they haven't yet upgraded to that 6 gigahertz band. This gives that to you at a very, very nice price point. You also still get that quad 2.5 gigabit port feature on this unit. So I absolutely love that flexibility that we're giving you, essentially about the best spec that you can get there. You can again see that 2,500 square feet, I think is really nicely broken down there in terms of the overall feature set. And also I love that this one still has a USB port on there. Great thing about the USB ports, slept on feature that a lot of people don't realize we have on ASUS routers is USB WAN or backup support. So that means you can connect your iPhone or Android phone to that USB port, and you can actually have your 4 or 5G cellular signal come in as a backup WAN. It's plug and play, it's free, simple, easy to use. So let's say your ISP goes down, instead of you having to worry about how do I get my devices back up online, just plug your phone in there. We leverage that 4 or 5G cellular signal, and then when your ISP comes back, disconnect it, bam, you can get back up and running and you're good to go. Plus tons of other really great features, like if you want to be able to run the VPN directly on the router, if you want to have dedicated bands for, let's say, for gaming, or a dedicated band for parental controls, or a dedicated band for general usage with specific kind of parameters, you can do that all within our ASUS software suite or our router. The router app also supports both Android and iOS. But this, for me, for the money, one of the best units that we have in terms of a tri-band based solution offering right here. And I'm gonna round this out here with also a similar model right here. This one's also a great price point. This one is going to be the BE9700. So this one's $250, $40 off, comes in at $210 right here. This one is going to be very similar to that TUF Gaming based model that we're going to be offering. Great tri-band based unit right here. Very strong base performance. This one has a little bit broader range than that unit in terms of the overall feature set. But the thing that I love about this one is that the other model that we talked about had quad 2.5 gigahertz port, quad 2.5 gigabits Ethernet ports, right? This one you'll see has a faster chipset than that first model we talked about, like 1.5 gigahertz quad core. This one has 2 gigahertz quad core. But the thing that I really love here is you get a 10G enabled port. So if you notice right here, I got one 10G port and then 4 2.5G ports. So that's where that differs kind of between that other model that we talked about right here. But that one 10G port, that is awesome because that gives you a huge amount of flexibility that you can use that as a WAN. So that means this can support pretty much all of the fastest ISP services, 1G, 2.5G, 5G, or even 10G WAN service. That means you can support any ISP service that's available, that's going to be right now or the future. But if you want to use this as a LAN port to be able to go out to like a high-speed 10G enabled NAS or your desktop system for ultra high-speed file transfers, I love the fact that you get 10G. And again, at this price point, that's an awesome deal. $210. This actually would be cheaper to even buy 2 of these and have ultra dense coverage where you could easily cover almost about any home. This would easily cover you, in terms of a 4,500 to 5,000 square foot home if you bought 2 of these, and this would be cheaper and giving you 10G support than sometimes some of the dual mesh products that we have that wouldn't even have 10G at that price point. So this is actually a really compelling offering if you need even broader coverage, but maybe consider kind of stacking these 2 together. But if you want something that's a little bit more streamlined from a package perspective, I've got the BT8 for you guys right here. This is sold in a single pack, which the single pack you can see is $280, but right now $80 off, so $200. The double pack you're going to save $180. And for a lot of people, this dual pack is going to be the monster of the deal, or the 3-pack, which you can see right now is not on promo. So right now, I would strongly recommend looking at either the single or the double. When we take a look at the overall coverage, you can see the 2-pack is going to give you outstanding coverage, 5,900 square feet. Looks fantastic. When we take a look at the overall I/O configuration on this guy, it's going to be quite robust as well. So let's go ahead and I think we have it over here. Yeah. So you can see you get 4 ports on there. You also have the USB that's going to be on this unit. This is going to be a very high performance based configuration on this model. So you are still going to get those 3 bands, 2.4, 5, and 6 gigahertz. Keep in mind though that when you have mesh, you lose one of those bands generally to be able to use the connections between the 2 nodes, but you're going to be strengthening the overall speed and the performance for those 2 bands. So this is going to be, I think, a great option for those of you that want to be able to go for a simplified mesh network. Is going to be the BT8. So let me drop the BT8 in there. And let me see if there was any questions that might have came up right there. I got the PG27UCDM. It was strange for me to see a printer cable in the box. That's probably for, yeah, that's for the upstream port. So the upstream port, because that monitor has KVM functionality. So that means you can have like your input devices where you can have your keyboard or your mouse and then have 2 devices connected, or you want to create the hub functionality, right? So you can do that. That's great to be able to, like I said, have like a laptop and a desktop, have 2 sets of peripherals, and then have those peripherals actually work for the 2 devices. That's also a way that you can actually complete other types of management functionality. So there's, again, that's actually all detailed within the manual. So I would check out the manual, but it's pretty much there from the upstream ports and the downstream ports that you have available on the display. Okay, so I think that was it in terms of our promotions and sales for you guys. So let me go ahead and drop that out. So let's go ahead and lastly go to our PCDIY Builder Spotlight. Who do I have in the spotlight? So I think I kind of showed AK Mod off, but I want to go ahead and bring up PC Works. So I think I have his system that I downloaded here. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. All right, yes, I do have it right here. Ooh, all right. So let's go ahead and see here. That's the name of this one. This is going to be, all right. So this is going to be from PC Works. This is going to be the Compcase Magnus 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, guys. Let's see what we got here. Oh my God, such beautiful pictures. Tim takes such good pictures. All right. And let me bring up his submission form here. And for you guys that are interested, make sure to join our PCDIY group if you want to be able to get that, or also leave the updated link in a comment on this stream, or also in the description if you guys want to be able to go ahead and submit your build for showcase on here. It doesn't have to be a new build. It can be an old build. Pretty much the only requirement that we ask for in terms of the PCDIY Builder Spotlight is it does have to feature an ASUS motherboard and an ASUS GPU. The rest of the components, they can be ASUS or they can be other companies. It's entirely okay. So there's more details on the actual specifics in terms of kind of what you can submit for that. We'll also be having an upgrade spotlight where sometimes maybe if you just want to upgrade one single component and highlight that, maybe you've got a new ASUS cooler, or you've got an ASUS cooler chassis or a fan or just a motherboard or something like that. We'll have actually individual product highlights as well that we're going to be doing here for the stream also. So we'll be doing a little bit of balance for both. So we've got our upgrades and we've also got our full kind of builds, right? But let me go ahead and bring up the submission form and we'll take a look here. And I want to bring this. So this is okay. Yeah. All right, guys. So let me bring this up here and we're going to take a look. Oh, all right. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Wow, that is very, very cool. So right off the bat, we've got, of course, the classic kind of black and gold aesthetic, which of course perfectly goes with the ProArt ecosystem. Always a fan, of course, I think of the ProArt ecosystem in terms of that really refined look and feel, where that black I think is just perfectly complemented by the actual gold. Now, of course, default in generally ProArt is usually going to be actually an air-cooled theme, you know, usually not kind of water-cooled, but Tim, of course, is definitely known for a lot of his custom kind of water cooling work and kind of customized kind of builds. So we can see that right here. We can definitely see some other really cool stuff that we've got from Bits Power in terms of some of their actual distributions and fittings and some other items right there. But let's go ahead and pull this back a little bit right here. So we can see right there that I love the look of that Bits Power block with that kind of black and black embossing look that I think looks really cool right there. It looks like we've got some G-Skill Trident Royal Z based memory. This is the older generational ProArt, so this is the 40 series, not the 50 series. So the 50 series, of course, you can always tell the difference because it had a little bit of a revised ID design with the wood grain accent, but still looks fantastic, I think, with that 40 series right there. And then, of course, with that ProArt based motherboard, looks really, really nice. Love the illuminated back right there. So if you guys know, I always have a soft spot for open frame chassis, one of my actually favorite type of chassis concepts, just because I think visually it gives you a different look. It opens up kind of the room in terms of how the system can be presented, where you can almost have more of a 360-degree kind of field of view. Really love the earthiness here within that warm color tone that you've got within the gold, and kind of it coming through the transparency from the reservoirs that we have here on the system, which I think really, really cool. Again, yes, that black and gold just always looks so on point there. Really, really nice look and feel to this. So let me go ahead and bring up, we'll go through the questionnaire in a second, but let's just finish going through some of the images here. Okay, I love that Tim also shot some independent items right here for the motherboard. This was one of the cool designs that I think that we updated within this generation, where we had this kind of full, quick, open access mechanism that lifted up to be able to allow you to go ahead and install your M.2 based SSDs. Really cool design, how you can actually see the entirety of the ProArt kind of logo right there. This is the Z890 creator, so this is still a current generation board. So you have the quick release for the M.2 heatsink on the primary right there, and then you have the other quick release right here, which was for all your secondaries. If you're also not aware, ProArt, one of the really cool benefits for the ProArt boards is they pretty much always have the dual PCI slot layout designs, which are great because, again, we position them more for kind of professionals or creators. Some gamers absolutely love them, but for applications, say for instance like DaVinci Resolve, you can actually use 2 GPUs, and that's the other reason why all the ProArt graphics cards, we make them only 2.5 slot. Now you can also leverage our cards like our Prime series or our Dual series, which are also 2.5 slot, and they'll pair perfectly with this motherboard where you can actually fit 2.5 slots. And that's a key difference of, let's say, when we compare that to our other graphics cards, like let's say the ROG Strix or the ROG Astral or the TUF Gaming series, which are going to be much larger, and they wouldn't allow you to run a dual GPU configuration if you can actually benefit from that within the application that you're running. Overall, beautiful build. That's that ROG Strix power supply. This is actually the newer model there that also has the GPU voltage stabilizer design, which is pretty sweet. Oh yeah, I love that color scheme right there. I think that picture right there, let's leave it on that picture right there, and let's run through a little bit of the questionnaire that we've got right here. So again, for those of you that are watching maybe for the first time and you're not aware, this is our PCDIY Builder Spotlight. We'd love to be able to highlight builders from the community, whether they're, again, first time builders or they're super experienced builders. Tim is, of course, a fantastic builder, been doing it for a long time. Not only really, I would say, as a builder, but also truly a modder and a fabricator that has the ability to kind of do a lot of really cool and specialized stuff. You can also see that it's very evident in the quality of the execution of what we have right here. So this was a sponsored build. The main sponsors that he had right here that he coordinated with is he actually worked with us, ASUS, Titan Rig, Bits Power, and then Intel. Of course, that makes sense, right, when we're using the Z890 based platform right here from that. So does the build have a theme? So yes, it was a ProArt based themed right there. What are 3 words that you would use to describe the build? Tim didn't even put 3. He just put 1. He just put fun. So I love that. I think this is definitely actually a fun build. I think it looks really clean and polished, and I love that kind of just refined sensibility with that black and light, that black and gold. And I also love these tubing runs that he did right here. So, you know, one of the things within certain kind of fixed hardware lines is that you kind of block certain access. And so I even love the way that he laid this out here, where, you know, none of this is actually directly overlaid the center of the motherboard. So a lot of times in a hardline build, you generally see that this ends up restricting certain kind of access to certain components. And now keep in mind, if you wanted to add more M.2 SSDs, it could actually be a really big pain, because if you had a hardline loop, you might actually have to drain the loop and then remove actually hard lines to be able to get access here. But what Tim did right here, I think not only visually it looks quite distinct and quite cool, but it allows you to actually maintain really nice access to the hardware. Now, it's still not super ideal because you're using a vertical mount as opposed to a horizontal mount, which would be easier in terms of kind of sometimes getting access. But this is still pretty nice, where I could quickly just remove out the GPU, then get access to the undermount slot areas, or those M.2 SSD slots, or the other kind of headers that I might need to be able to get to, and I don't have to mess with my water cooling layout. So actually a lot of props right there. Does the build have a name? Actually, the name was not the name. Actually, that's the chassis name, but the name is actually right here, is the Project ProArt. So yeah, in terms of the core hardware right here, Z890 ProArt, then of course a 4080 ProArt, and then that ROG Strix 1000 watt base power supply. What was he really most proud of in terms of the build is he really liked how the rear of the case looks with the multiple reservoirs. So let's go back over to the rear over here. Let's see if we have that rear shot. And I agree. I really like that back look. That's a really cool look, just with the two reservoirs, especially I think illuminated. They have that really cool vibe. And then of course how we have this kind of customization right here, where we have those two pass bars that I think look really slick. I think it really has a complementary look to it. So it comes out really nicely. Took him about 1 month to be able to complete this build. System has been used for gaming, Arc Raiders, Apex Legends, Ride 6. His actually favorite feature or function is actually the latest generation of Armored Crate, which I agree. I think that we've done a great job to be able to streamline the experience, have it be lightweight, responsive, modular, be able to manage everything from motherboards, from motherboard monitoring to, of course, your RGB lighting and management to your fan controls, and have that all built in. I think it's a great option. But of course, in our latest generation boards, like the new X870 Neo series, we now also have not only Armored Crate, but we got the ASUS Motherboard Manager Suite, right, which is an alternative for people that want something that's super basic and just kind of focused on motherboard management. So overall, I think a great job from Tim right here within this build. Let's see some commentary that we've got from some people right here, and tell me. Please tell me the Chromax is coming soon. Yes, the Chromax, I think we're going to probably have it hopefully by the very end of this quarter. So yeah, just make sure to keep it tuned. Rest assured, we're going to be covering it here on the PCDIY stream when we're actually getting ready to launch it. I'm pretty confident that you're probably not going to see it, I think, next month. I don't think you're going to see it in June. I think it's probably going to end up maybe being July, but maybe could be in June, late June. Just make sure to keep it locked here to the stream. We'll definitely announce it. I do know that there are actually two versions that we're going to have planned. We'll have a base version that actually doesn't have any of the fans, and then there's going to be another I think like advanced version that will, I think, come populated with Urex space fans, which are premium new daisy chain magnetic tri-zone lighting ARGB fans, which are going to be awesome. So yeah, just make sure to keep it tuned. We'll have more details when it's going to be coming in right there. So he says, I love the black and gold on these retro futuristic offerings. I think that looks really sick. Hey, we've got Terrence the Poets, man, one of the best reviewers out there. If you guys are not lighting up your feeds, right, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or whatever it might be, make sure to go ahead and check out Terrence the Poets. Great space right here, right there. So he's looking forward to being able to see us at Computex, man. Fantastic. Really hoping to see you there as well. Also, from a federal water cooling enthusiast, to be able to give props as well to Tim. I agree. I think he did a great job, man. So fantastic. Overall, really great build from PC Works. I think showing off some awesome stuff right here. So let's go ahead and see. I think we've got one other build that I want to go ahead and show off right here. So let me 1 second. Let me see what we've got within the submission folder. And I think then we're going to go ahead and wrap some things up. If anybody else has got any other questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in there. Okay. So let me go ahead and see. 17. Oh, all right. I think this is going to be from Justin. So let's go ahead and see what we've got from Justin Chu. What's this one going to be? Justin, you know it's always going to be good. We got two. We're spoiled, right? We got that AK mod build that we showed off. And then we've got Justin's build here. I think both of these are going to be fantastic. So let me put the name. What is the name for this one? Ooh, Omni Snow. Okay. I like that name. Okay. So this is going to be J Custom. All right. And then we got Omni Snow right here. Ooh, this one looks like this is with the glacial. This is definitely going to be a serious build right here. So we're looking at two kind of back-to-back, definitely serious, serious builds right here. But pretty cool in that regard. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. All right. Sorry, guys. I hadn't downloaded these images yet, so I'm downloading them on the fly for you guys. Oh my gosh, this is an insane build. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Wow. Okay. So of course, most of you guys will be aware that we've got the new ROG Glacial that came out. This was one of the new motherboards that we launched at the beginning of the year as part of the X870 refresh, right, where we had multiple new X870 based motherboards, and then we also had new B850 based motherboards. So right off the bat, I mean, you've just got some really, really distinct kind of designs. So one, I love already this kind of like almost like kind of spire. It's definitely got kind of that snow vibe where you can tell you got the blue and you got the white tones that you get when you're kind of course seeing the snow. But it's definitely got that kind of futuristic kind of vibe right there, a little mecha vibes, which I think are kind of coming through. I love the side placement right here where you have the visibility to, of course, the big beautiful 5-inch display that we've got within the actual glacial, and then you of course actually the cool little pump head illuminated there with the actual ROG logo, which I think looks really, really nice. And then even the secondary, I love the depth of field kind of effect that you kind of have right here within a build, because a lot of times when you have a more traditional build, you can have kind of depth to it, but it tends to be kind of more on a flatter kind of surface. All right, and so here it inherently is kind of inviting some kind of depth and some variability to the look and feel of the system right here. So that's pretty cool, and I love that kind of you can go in and kind of get these different kind of senses and vibes within there. So you can actually see right here, we got some cool TT based memory. I really love the look of this TT memory, this Thermaltake memory. I love the kind of this split kind of angular design where it kind of goes up into this triangle, and then on the other end it's got the triangle, and then it's got this little lighting. I think it just gives it a really cool kind of technical inspired look, which is really cool. Has a really kind of nice vibe to it, right? Yeah, so Dishe says, I love Justin too. I actually reached out to him to try to understand his stable OCs for his matrix compared to mine, and he was super helpful, and he's a great dude. Yeah, so Justin's a really friendly guy, been a great member of the community. We'd love to be able to work with him, and he's somebody that is super, super nice. Great to be able to kind of have people like him be able to share his resource. And I would say the same thing also for an individual like Tim, who's part of our PCDIY community. He gives people insights on different builds, different guidance on if they're trying different things out like that. And that's, I think, one of the beautiful things that we have within the PCDIY community is you got people that can share their experience, their insight, their perspectives on performance tuning, on builds, on upgrades, on different things like that, right? So I think overall pretty cool. So I love my glacial. That motherboard will be so hard to replace later when the time comes. So which glacial do you have? Do you have actually this glacial, or do you have a prior generation glacial? I mean, this glacial is truly, I think, a special board. I mean, the look and feel I think is absolutely fantastic. That shroud design that we have, where you don't necessarily see all the cool elements there, but it still is it's a truly stunning board. This is really cool right here, where you can actually see this crosshair. I think that's a really cool accent that we have that's added in right there. And then on the other side, glacial. Wow, that's really cool. So crosshair, glacial on the two sides. And then of course you've got Justin's actually logo right there, which I think is really cool. Oh, awesome, man. Thanks for being Team Crosshair. Yeah, it's an absolutely stunning board. I love that this generation we kind of revised it to be more of a true enthusiast general board. With the prior generations, they were really focused at kind of the custom water cooling market. So people that really love that super premium element, you really could only use the motherboard if you were custom water cooling it. But in this board, you still get an amazing design and feature sets that can be entirely beneficial for a high-end custom water cool build. But if you don't want to go into a custom water cool build and you just want a super premium high-end white themed build, then it's going to absolutely look fantastic, right? So yeah. I just wish I got a white Astral card, right? Yeah, that's a tough one. I know for sometimes some people they would be able to do that. Where are those build images? Yeah, so you can actually submit that to the PCDIY Web Builder Spotlight. There's a submission form, and the submission form gets sent over to me, and then I can review that. So I'll actually drop that, like I said, in the comment section for the YouTube or in the description chat. Or if you actually join our PCDIY community, I'll put the little kind of widget there on the screen. You can join our community page, and you can also submit through that way too. But overall, this is such a really cool build. It's got actually, I think, like AK vibes to it, which I think are really cool. I also love right here, a really cool element that he did is that you can see right here kind of that shroud cover that we have actually in place on the board right there, and then that beautiful water block. I think this just is overall is a really cool feel and vibe to it. One cool thing right here is that bottom actually kind of cover plate that we have, he still actually has that in there, so that covers actually a lot of those bottom level connectors that you would normally kind of see. And little thing that actually a lot of people don't even realize that we did for that bottom connector here is that there's actually on the inside of the box, there's actually two magnetic kind of like feet that allow you to actually lift up that cover plate, so that if you need a little bit more room to be able to have flexibility to route like different types of cables in there depending on your chassis or the cables you're running in there, we even gave you kind of like a secondary height level adjustment with some additional magnetic feet that sit underneath that magnetic cover plate. So yeah, a lot of really cool details within the glacial board. Oh my gosh, look at that. blacked out but lit up versus the white. Okay, so that's going to be the question, guys. Tell me, which one's the better look? Do you like it with uh, the lighting in play, right? Which now it totally has super kind of like mecha, kind of sci-fi, kind of vibes to it, right? Really cool, really distinct, looks absolutely fantastic. Or do you go with the vibe where it's not lit up? And they both have very different vibes, because here you actually go to more of a blacked out feel where you're kind of using the lighting as kind of like a focal point, and that's creating kind of accents. Where of course when the lighting's off and everything is lit up, you really have actually more volume that's presented to you, right? So it actually also changes this, and it gives it a different vibe. Of course, one is opened up, right? So like again, if we go back here, you can see right there, it has a really cool vibe to it. You have the lighting, right? But the lighting has a little bit of that softer kind of presentation right there. Still gives it kind of a cool internal kind of hum, or vibe to it, right? Because you've got that lighting being present, but then we've got that vibe right there. So which one would you be a fan of? I can maybe do a side-by-side picture, and we can kind of see right there. Oh, look at that. That is really cool. He's got Omni right there. So Omni is, of course, one of the ROG Saga characters, and he's got that put in there. Oh, I think we got a little bit of some footage in here to be able to take a look at. Let's go ahead and take a look at this build. Fantastic, man. It's another killer piece. Justin always kills it. Definitely one of the best builders out right now as well. Very similar to Tim in terms that it does an amazing job doing a lot of customization work, whether it's custom paint work, custom cool little accents and customization elements to chassis, and so many other pieces to just be able to have things have a really cool, distinct and stylized nature, really kind of make it feel distinct and unique. And that polish in the execution is always a hallmark of, I think, what Justin brings to the table here. So really, really cool. And you can see right here a little bit of a homage here to be able to showcase and align with what we've done here for the kind of the ROG 20th anniversary stuff. But beautiful. I mean, this is an absolutely fantastic build. Let's see right here. So I just wish the bottom connectors are 90 degrees. It would make sense. The reality is making those connectors 90 degrees, most people don't realize that generally anytime you make 90-degree connectors, so even us putting 90-degree connectors on kind of motherboards right now, it's actually generally negative because most chassis aren't really optimized for a 90-degree connector. Now, we did it on the kind of glacial and extreme models because generally, hopefully, that user is being more considerate to go into a larger chassis so they have more clearance space. But it tends to be that clearance space tends to be more optimized for the right side of the board, not the bottom side of the board. And so the bottom side of the board can definitely run into more mechanical actually access limitations. So right angle, while you might feel that it could be beneficial in that regard, I think it actually would hurt you more in terms of really being accounting for the breadth and depth of the users that are out there. But I get what you're talking about, and I think that's also where I think the real gold standard would be over time is to maybe have something like a BTF type of EATX motherboard, which would allow you to bypass any of those type of connectors from being utilized, and you could just move those all towards the back. But then that starts to get into a super premium, a more specialized niche, but that's something that ROG does better than anybody else. So maybe that's going to be an option for the next generation, right? Is maybe we have something like an extreme or glacial type motherboard that has BTF based connectivity, and you tie that in with the right chassis that has that support, and you can really allow for an unprecedented level of kind of a super clean and distinct stylized presentation, right? But thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. Japote says the dark room is sick. I think the dark room definitely hits different. So it's a tough call. I think that they'd look both really, really good on that side. Amazing build right there. So over one, I think is, yeah, this is great. But let me finish bringing up just this shot here, and I want to bring up the side by side between it being lit up and between not being lit up, and I want to hear people's the overall vote, the consensus, at least from those watching in the stream right now. Do we have two? Okay, perfect. So he did do pretty much like two side by sides. Okay, so how can I do this? I think I can do it this way. Okay, I think that works. Okay, all right, guys. So let me know, and we're gonna do it this way. Okay, I think that works right there. Okay, so we've got got the black, right? That's the blacked out kind of vibe, right? And then we've got the whiteout vibe, right? Which one would you guys kind of go with, right? All right. So I think overall that wraps up our live stream for today, guys. Fantastic as always for you guys joining us. I appreciate those. For again, anybody that wants to be able to go ahead and submit for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, feel free to go ahead and drop your submission. You can either join us in the PCDIY group that's linked over there in that little QR code. You can join us in our group there, or there'll be a link description that I'll pin as a comment on the YouTube. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, you can go ahead and check it there, or I'll update the description as well to go ahead and have a link to the submission form. And so, yeah, look forward to your guys' submissions. We'll have more builds later in the future that we'll cover again. We're going to be doing PCDIY Builder Spotlight. We'll do an upgrade spotlight. Also got some cool builds coming up, some feature overviews, some more content that we're going to have on the PCDIY stream. So as always, feel free to let me know if you're interested in something. Do you want a guide? Do you want an overview? Do you want a product demo? Whatever it might be. I've got some cool stuff coming up. I think we're going to take a closer look at our new FP120 series fans. I'm probably going to do a networking overview guide on some of the really cool features that we have that allow you to kind of easily take advantage of kind of prioritization or setting up your router to kind of do cool things if you want like a dedicated band to be able to have for like VPN, so you can have like a VPN band, or if you want to have a dedicated band for different types of purposes, maybe doing something like that. We're going to do a new updated UEFI overview video, which will cover all of the new UEFI updates that we have for 2026 on the latest generation of motherboards. We're going to do that. And yeah, I've got some other ones planned, but definitely if you guys have more feedback on things that you'd like to see, let me know. I think we also have a build that I want to do like in the new AP303 chassis that we're also actually going to be doing, maybe with some B850 hardware, and we'll do some other stuff on that side. So overall, thank you guys for joining the stream. Guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, have a fantastic weekend, and stay safe and stay healthy, and best of luck with your builds. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.